Hello, and welcome to the Hypno Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway Podcast. That's right. Your host and tour guide is Scott Prevett, a healer, hypnotist, and a magician. And your bus driver is Jason Gobelli, also a hypnotist, an entrepreneur, and a spiritual guide. Disclaimer, neither Jason, Scott, or any of our guests here today are licensed professional psychologists or psychiatrists. So please don't make any changes to any medication or treatments that you are currently on based on the conversation that you hear here today. Just hop on the bus and enjoy the ride. Trip with us on the Inner Revelation Bus. That's right.
Hi, I'm Jason. Welcome back to the Hypno Travelers on the Magical Psyche Highway. We were really excited to have you here today, and we are excited because we got a great guest, don't we, Scott?
Heck yeah, I got a great guest all lined up for you guys. Let's get started.
That's right. We got the wonderful Rhonda Farrah. Rhonda, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing real well. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Scott. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Rhonda. We're so excited to be traveling down your magical psyche highway today. And so, shall we get started?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Rhonda, who are you and what do you do?
Oh, good question. I'm an alchemist, a life coach, an author, and a speaker. And most people say, well, just what you said. What is an alchemist and what is it that you do? And while I have plenty of credentials educationally and otherwise and certifications, my real credentials are life and the stuff, the good and the not so good stuff that I've been through. And as an alchemist, that's what I do. I help people go through their joys as well as their sorrows and make it all work for them rather than anything less.
Nice, nice. So you said you've been through some good stuff and some bad stuff. Share some of that experience with us.
Okay, I absolutely will. Well, I've been through plenty of good stuff. I'm the oldest of 5 children. I have 3 brothers and a sister. I have a beautiful daughter. I have grandchildren. I was raised primarily in an extended family through the 3rd grade, which some people know what that is. It was parents, siblings, grandparents, aunts, great aunts, all under the same household. And it was primarily a household of women. So there was plenty of love and plenty of discipline. And that's really where I picked up that nurturer influence. And probably the subconscious mind, she took over first of all. And that's why I went to the field of psychology, of counseling, as an educator and as a psychotherapist. And being the oldest of 5, I was a role model, whether I wanted to be it or not at any given point in time. So I learned to nurture and nourish, which I think most women do. Men do it too, but I'll speak for women. We do it, but we do it better when it comes to everyone else rather than nourishing and nurturing ourselves. So this is where the journey began, way back when, with me being that people pleaser, with me not wanting to disappoint anyone, and oftentimes doing things that were not in my best interest, and maybe not even realizing it at the time. So I go on, I become a psychotherapist, a very lucrative practice, and then I get into a field, business type field, which resulted in me being incarcerated for 7 years in a women's federal prison camp. There were no bars or anything like that. And it was a camp, it was dormitory style. And before I knew it, after I stopped beating the phone against the wall, saying, "Get me out of here," I had an aha moment. And I began teaching wellness classes, right, to 300 women. And whoever says God doesn't have a sense of humor, I call it God. Some people call it divine source, spirit, universe, doesn't know what they're talking about, because it was the last place I would have thought I would end up, let alone teaching what I do. And but I did, and I was teaching women who were in this program. It was called the drug program, and I was the only inmate teaching. There were counselors and people associated with the Bureau of Prisons. And about a year into it, I asked my counselor, "Do you think I could get a year off my sentence? Because this is what entitled these women to." And he said, "No, no, Farrah, we need you right here." And I call you by your last name. And all I said was, "Okay." And I continued to teach and continued to heal. I'm a firm believer in that we heal when we help others heal. And we are here to be of service to others, but as well as ourselves. So I did that for about 5 years. And I was learning, I was growing, I was evolving, I was growing where I was planted, which is incidentally the memoirs I have in process now. Growing where I am planted, my journey in consciousness to transformation. Because we can grow anywhere we are if we choose to. We have that power of choice. And I was always surprised because women would say to me, "Oh, I'll do this about my emotional health, about my physical health when I get home." And my response was, "This is a gifted time. This is a time where we have blessings. We're all doing time, but let's use this time to our benefit." Because when you get home, honey, you gotta get a job, you gotta take care of your kids, you gotta pay your rent, you gotta do all this other stuff as you get back into the world. So this is really a gift and a blessing. And that was my realization, because that was midlife adventure one of the several adventures I'll talk about here. But because I found the gift and the blessing, and sometimes I had to trip over it, was why I was not just surviving, I was thriving. But again, even the subconscious mind knows more than the conscious mind. So I continued that, and about 11 months before my release, I discovered I had a lump on my breast. And I wasn't going to do anything about it because I had seen other things happening with the Bureau of Prisons, which is not for this time or space. And I just, through intention, through affirmation, through prayer, through like feeling the feelings of fear, bad feeling, fear, being real scared. I was more scared of that than having been incarcerated. And, when you feel those things, or I did at least, when one is looking at mortality. So the day came, I was released because I know I needed to get to my own doctors. So that was in 2005. And in 2005, I got to my own doctors, and none other than Breast Cancer Awareness Month, October, and was diagnosed with nearly a stage 3 breast cancer. And that question kept coming up every time I picked up the phone. How was the biopsy? And I remember it till this day what I would say. Not the best news, but not the worst news. And I went through all those sorts of feelings. And my daughter at the time said, "When are we going to get a break?" And all I could say to her was, "Honey, we're going to be fine. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to dance at your wedding, and I'm going to see my grandchildren," which I have 2 beautiful grandchildren. I did dance at her wedding. I have no idea where those words came from. That was a God thing. I refer to those types of things as God things for me. And during that time, I felt some emotions. I felt a lot of fear. I only believe in 2 emotions, love and fear. And if we're operating from fear, which begins in the heart space, we create thoughts that determine our external world. If we operating in love, or feeling love, we think thoughts, different thoughts, better thoughts, which give us a better external world, I feel. So if you ever want to know what you're thinking, just look around at your world because you've created it one way or another. I'm going to add something with respect to fear because I still do this sometimes. Fear is another word for procrastination. Yeah, we've all been there, maybe. I'm not immune to anything that I'm talking about just because I live it and breathe it. So procrastination sets in. That means we fear something. We don't want to move ahead in one way, shape, or form. So remember, fear and love, you have operating there. Another gift and blessing. And I don't say my battle with cancer, which many cannot understand. We've all heard that term. I said, no, I have incidents of breast cancer. I had an incidence of breast cancer. And I learned to be grateful for what I was learning about myself. And it was at that time in 2005 that the psychotherapist hat came off and the alchemist hat went on. The coaching hat went on. And I became even more dedicated to awakening hearts, minds, and most especially spirit to our innate power from within, our authentic power from within. And that is the power to thrive rather than merely survive. So there's the gift and the blessing. And I was also one that I asked for signs. I was having a little conversation with God. And I need a shot in the arm, God. I know I'm going to make it through this. And our authentic power from within proved I was going to make it through it. My authentic power. Because, you know, that's ridiculous. I was an avid runner. I've been a runner for 50 years now. And I thought, this is incredible. How can I have breast cancer? I'm nearly an athlete, never took any street drugs, and was in the mode of taking care of myself, I thought. Well, research bears that the incidence of breast cancer in women is because we do not nourish and nurture ourselves. We're real good, as I mentioned before, at nourishing and nurturing others. Hence, I'm now in a helping profession as a psychotherapist and alchemist, but I wasn't attending to the agenda of my soul. And I asked myself that question. Every time I have a decision to make, how does this attend to the agenda of my soul? So there I am. I went to a medical Qigong practitioner, and music to my ears, went into prayer, into meditation, some raw food, but really not that much restriction on my diet, and lots of chanting in front of a mirror. And at the time I had dogs. So I was chanting, the dogs were howling, this was all great. And the medical Qigong practitioner, he says to me, I want you to go back to your oncologist because Western medicine has the best diagnostic tools, in his opinion. There are. I went back and I had my daughter with me, and she said to me, the oncologist, I don't know what you're doing, Rhonda, but you're shrinking your tumor. My daughter's head spun around on her neck, and her words were, in several more explicitly saying, you're buying this shit too. Well, I knew that authentic power was within me. And I also knew this whole fear thing I had about doctors, hospitals, oh my goodness, chemo, radiation, surgery. And I decided then, I had another aha moment. No, you got to do this. You got to do this. So I started chemo. And I was one of those people that I think I had 1 or 2 side effects. That was it. I lost my hair, but everyone said I looked like a prophet. So that was all right. I'll take that. And I was scared. I was still scared. But when I was told this could be chemically treated, that was also music to my ears, because I said, wow, this is beatable at nearly stage 3. Okay, so what am I going to learn from this? Yeah, looking for the gifts and the blessings. So then I began facilitating support groups in the hospital once a week for women with breast cancer. Okay, back into that, pivoting me right back into that mode. And then the day of surgery came, and I'm the blessing again. I didn't have to go to the hospital. I went to the surgical center. And I had they call him the best breast guy in Monterey, California. But he was in Monterey, but he was the best breast guy in North America. And he looked at me and I looked at him. And, it was like, how's this going to work? And he goes, well, we're going to take you to the OR and we're going to do a mastectomy. I go, oh, no, we're not doing any mastectomy. Okay, no, I'm not here for that. And they're putting me under and they're talking to me about this. Before I was wheeled into the OR, I was sitting on this beautiful day, lying in the gurney, looking out the window, and the nurse, who would be my OR nurse, I found out, she came over to me and she says, Rhonda, can I get you something? Do you need anything? And I said, no, I just having a little talk with God, asking him for a sign. I know everything's going to be all right, but I want a sign. So she looks at me and she pulls back her skull cap. And she's looking at my hair. She says, look, your hair is growing back. Maybe it'll grow back like mine. That was my sign. Here's a woman, had been through breast cancer, had been through all this stuff, and she was here being of service to me, being of service to others. That was my sign. I said, okay, I got it. And a lot of people, whoever it is that you ask and you will receive. Knock and the door shall be open. Don't walk around in fear, because the information, it's best you know the information than not know the information. So I asked and I got my sign. And went to the surgical center, or was there, and this is getting delayed. This was supposed to be at 9 a.m. We're into 1 o'clock in the afternoon now. My surgeon finishes up with me. And he's got this worried look on his face. And I was in and out, wheeled to the recovery room. And my daughter was there. I had a male nurse, and he kept saying my name. Yeah, what do you want? What do you want? He goes, no, I want you to talk to me. They wanted to make sure I was becoming coherent again from the anesthesia. And the only thing I could say was, yes, my name is Rhonda, and I'd like to have a glass of wine. And my daughter said, she's going to be fine. That's that, and that was that. And the next day, 2 days later, I got a call. I went home that night and I got a call from my doctor, my surgeon. And I said to him, you had this worried look on your face. He goes, I was worried. We did your pathology report 3 times because they inject you with some dye, and where the dye rushes through, there could be cancer there. So he was concerned about my lymph nodes. So while I was on the table, they removed 11 lymph nodes on this side. And he goes, you're clear. And I said, what's next? He goes, radiation after 2 weeks. What a joy, a suntan. So I went through the radiation, 38 blasts every day except weekends and holidays. And at the end of March in 2006, I got to ring the bell. because people who finish their radiation, they ring this bell, and it's symbolic. I rang the bell. And I thought, wow, it seemed like a long time, yet such a short time. I look back on it now, and 19 years, thank God, cancer free. And thank you. And I applaud myself because it was the authentic power from within. There are women with lesser stages of breast cancer that do not survive because of their mindset, because they don't realize their authentic power from within. I wasn't going to be a goner. I had to be here to go through the things I've been through so that I could help others go through what they're going through, to take the joy, the good stuff, as well as the shit in one's life and make it work for you rather than anything else. I won't apologize for saying shit. So
Go ahead.
All right, we're moving to then the escapade came with 2 divorces very close to one another. Incidentally, both from women. And that was the hardest thing ever. So you've seen what I've been through: prison, breast cancer, all the fears associated with that. Really something. Being abandoned, being cheated on, just everything in between. That was hard. That was the hardest thing. And that was my biggest lesson to learn. Breathe the charm. Because what I was attracting to me, whether it was a relationship, a situation, a circumstance, an event, was how I viewed myself. So every time I would look in the mirror or catch my reflection in a pane of glass, let's say before prison, you are so beautiful, Rhonda. You are so articulate. You are so loving. You love to cook. You love to garden. You're a great communicator. Did I really believe it? It took a few years to put things in perspective for me, and that's when my brand changed, to fix your reflection first and live your best life ever. Because if we are not looking at ourselves with love, liking ourselves with self-respect, self-esteem, self-appreciation, we're just going to attract less than we really deserve, and certainly less than we really want or desire. So that's the capsulized version of who I am and what I do. But I'm truly an alchemist, which is interesting because I'm not a left brain person. But alchemy is the precursor to chemistry. So where I help others take all these rough edges in their life and refine themselves to the magnificent being that each of us is, whole, perfect, and complete, regardless of a war scar on my right breast, regardless of, at a time, a felony conviction, which incidentally, after I got out, my sentence was expunged. Okay, so I learned what I needed to learn. Now, I have said, fuck you, God, fuck the government, fuck everything, fuck you people that left me hanging to be the scapegoat? No. Victimhood is very unattractive on me. Martyrhood is very unattractive on me. Because just like others who choose to know that they are whole, perfect, and complete just the way they are, I began to realize that. All my messes turned into messages for others as well as myself. So when someone says, would you have done things differently? And I said, no, I called everything forward, which floors people. We call it all forward. Subconscious mind, he or she is operating. We call it forward. to learn our lessons, and then we get to decide what to do about it. Either be in fear or in love.
So Rhonda, are you still doing the volunteer work at the? Are you still working at the prison with the women at
No.
at the prison?
No, that was not. No, I'd have to be an inmate to do that. No, that's
Okay.
that's their deal.
Are
You
you
know, it's
still doing the volunteer work with the cancer patients?
yes, yes.
Nice, nice.
So anyone that wants to take, a group course, what I'll do is gift them. I'll gift them like maybe 6 at a time, maybe 1 at a time. Somebody calls me up, but I certainly don't ignore anyone. But my point is I don't work with everyone either. And the reason is because while I do have a Harry Potter wand that was gifted to me by a dear friend, I am not going to wave it and fix everyone's problem. It's not my right nor my obligation to want for someone what they do not want for themselves.
Nice. So, Rhonda, you got a lot of stuff going on and everything that's happening here. When was that time, the first time that you had that aha moment that I'm really going to be able to help people and help affect their lives?
When I stopped hitting the phone against the wall in the prison saying, "Get me out of here." And that was on a subconscious level. I surrendered and I said, and all of a sudden everything fell into place. I'm teaching, I'm advising, I'm showing more compassion and empathy than ever. And people
Well,
are.
go ahead. Well, you got all that going, and that was the moment that changed everything. But
Absolutely.
then, who have been the mentors that you've had along the road that helped shape who you are today?
Numerous. First of all, I call them gurus or mentors. We are all our own guru, first and foremost. Each one of us. But there are mentors that have shaped me. Brene Brown, uh, Dr. Ernest Holmes, Science of Mind. Um, Numerous people that have written books and otherwise. Is there one in particular? I don't know that there's one in particular. I come from an eclectic the people that have interviewed me or that I've had on my own podcast, we learn from each other. People in my groups, we learn from each other. We're all students and we're all teachers at any given point in time. My higher source, absolutely. And some people say, well, what do you mean? Who is God to you? Well, I can tell you who God is not. God is not something in the sky that's going to send a proverbial lightning bolt and hit me or anyone else in their proverbial ass and solve what they have the power to do on their own. The God of my understanding is right here. That's why we are our biggest mentor. We are our biggest guru if we realize that. It's not being selfish, especially as a woman. Look inside. Look inside, first of all. And then listen and be. When you be, then you'll know what to do because the people, the places, the situations, the circumstances, and events all come to you.
Nice, nice. Scott, do you have any questions?
Sure. With all the stuff that you've been doing, it sounds like you've got a great book you've got a great story to tell. Have you lined up a book that maybe in your future?
It's the forthcoming, Growing Where I Am Planted, My Journey in Consciousness to My Own Transformation. And I've been a contributing author in America's Leading Ladies with Oprah Winfrey and Melinda Gates, America's Heroes and Legends, The Power of the Soul from Within. And, there's more to come. My favorite thing is to teach, to speak to audiences like we're doing today, whether I'm a guest or the host to Fix Your Reflection First and Live Your Best Life Ever. And I got out of my people pleasing mode. And I said, okay, this makes my tail wag. Teaching, guiding, and helping people to understand that whatever any of us are going through, we are not alone. The light at the end of the tunnel you may be traveling down now, as we're speaking, is not a train. It's the truth, it's the light, it's the guidance, it's the blueprint to being the best version of yourself, if you choose.
Nice. Nice.
Nice.
Well, let me ask you this, Rhonda. How do our viewers get a hold of you?
First of all, I welcome questions to do with this podcast or anything else that I may have said. They can write to me directly, Rhonda, RHONDA, at helpmerhondanow.com. My website is helpmerhondanow.com. I have backed by popular demand, a new cohort of my group course will begin January 12th. And I take 15 people at a time and for 3 months. It's a 12-week. We don't do things in 12 months. We do things in 12 weeks. And it's not for the faint of heart. So you get me for 2 hours a week on Zoom and a whole bunch of other things that are included with it. And if I haven't already, I'll send you the link to include in the program description.
Nice. Nice. Scott, any other questions?
Rhonda, thank you so much for spending time with us and taking time out of your schedule. We really appreciate it.
May I leave our viewers and listeners with something?
Oh, absolutely. But I got other questions for you.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. Well, let's go with that.
So one of them is you got a family, you got stuff going on with the kids and the grandkids and everything. How do they handle all of your success and keeping busy? How do you balance all that?
Well, we're going to find out because I was in California, went through the divorces, was asked to make a pit stop here in Colorado Springs, which is where I am. I've been here for 4 years, helping a friend of mine whose mother-in-law had dementia. She still has dementia, and she's in a facility right now and not liking it. But before the end of the year, I will be back home in Connecticut. So we'll see how everything gets balanced. And I think I needed to go through everything to find my sense of self and how this attends to the agenda of my soul with what I do. There's no such thing as retirement for me. But again, remember, I have 3 brothers and a sister. I have 2 grandchildren. I have nieces and nephews, grandnieces and grandnephews. And it'll get balanced. It'll all get balanced.
Nice. Nice.
As a matter of fact, what I do will be enhanced because I have that environment. We'll have that environment now. And they will be enhanced because they're now going to experience the best version of Rhonda.
So what's your enhancement plan?
To
enhance their lives and your life.
Be the example. Be the example, not the exception. Let them understand they're whole, perfect, and complete just the way they are. They are, introduce them to some things that I do, emotional freedom technique, tapping. They're introducing that to kids in kindergarten right now. As a matter of fact, a colleague of mine is from Connecticut, Nick Ortner, who invented tapping, emotional freedom technique. Wow. And so I tap every morning for myself, for guidance, and I tap every morning for my grandchildren. Nice. To guide them. And you pull a certain thing. And today's things that was pulled was, it came up, no matter how long something takes, it will happen if you want it to. I'm paraphrasing that. And they tap on all the points. And also helping them, this will be a real interesting one with my family, living an empowered lifestyle. Okay, as an alchemist, I have a formula. I may not have liked chemistry, but I do have a formula for living an empowered lifestyle. And that formula is gratitude, plus forgiveness equals living the life you want, the life you desire, perhaps the life you dream about. And, I'll just expound on that briefly. Gratitude, where none of us is a stranger to gratitude. I have a gratitude journal. I write in it every morning and every evening. And I would encourage others to do the same, or at least say 3 things you're grateful for before you put your feet on the floor in the morning and before you put your head on the pillow at night. At least say them, if not write them. Writing is much more effective. Which brings us to the second part of the equation, forgiveness. Forgiveness of self and forgiveness of others that you feel have harmed you. Forgiveness has a bad rap, and nobody wants to talk about forgiveness, let alone forgive someone or themselves. I'll give you a very brief exercise. Whoever wants to take me up on it, I invite you to. I guarantee you the results will be long lasting and felt nearly immediately. So the first thing you do is get out a piece of paper. Most people, again, learn visually, 95% of the population. I know we all have fancy devices and everything, but I want you to handwrite this. Write a letter to yourself, to forgive yourself. I'm going to use myself as an example. Dear Rhonda, I've been meaning to write to you for some time. First of all, how are you? You know, Rhonda, when you went to prison, when you got breast cancer, when you have failed marriages, failed relationships, failed businesses, financial collapse, Rhonda, I want you to know that I know you didn't mean to hurt me. You're writing to yourself now. Rhonda's writing to Rhonda. I know you didn't mean to hurt me, Rhonda. And I forgive you. What you do with the letter from there is your business. You can flush it down the toilet, the garbage disposal, you can burn it, do whatever you want. You're releasing. That's the past. It's a cancel check. Now, something that may be a little challenging to some, I know it was for me in the beginning. Get another piece of paper and write a letter to someone who you feel has harmed you. Dear someone who has harmed me, remember when I became the scapegoat and went to prison? Remember when you cheated on me, were disrespectful? Remember when you caused all these financial problems for me? I know you didn't mean to do any of that. I forgive you. People are usually shifting in their seats, and then I will say to them, and it's the truth, write the letter, but you don't have to mail it. You don't have to mail it. When we are incapable of forgiving, we're not hurting anyone but ourselves. That resentment within us, that anger, that non-forgiveness is like ingesting poison and expecting the other person to die. It's not going to happen. So, forgiveness of self and forgiveness of others. Yes, remember your gratitudes every morning and every evening. However, forgiveness is an essential to living the life that you wish to live, the life that you desire.
Nice. Nice. Okay, Rhonda, I got one more big question for you.
Lay it on me.
What are your words of wisdom to leave with our viewers?
We already talked about the tunnel. We already talked about you're not alone. You are not alone. Who's ever listening, you're here for a reason. You landed here for a reason. You're not alone. Whatever you're going through, reach out, whether it's to me or to someone else, reach out. And finally, my invitation, as always, to any audience, is to treat life as if it were ice cream and enjoy it before it melts.
Nice. Nice. Well, thank you, Rhonda. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. We certainly appreciate traveling down your magical psyche highway. Scott, you
Thank
want to
you.
add anything here?
I'm good.
Great. Rhonda, you have anything else you want to add?
No, I will look for the edit of this, and I will send you the link for the group course and the program description. You have my bio, and if you need anything else, just ask,
It's
and you
all
shall receive.
it's all coming soon. And
Okay.
and for our viewers out there, we're certainly glad that you've come. We certainly appreciate you coming. It's been a pleasure traveling down your magical psyche highway, Rhonda, and we're glad you had to come for the ride. If you like us, give us a thumbs up, follow us, share us everywhere, do all that stuff. If you don't like us, we don't care. Just give us a thumbs down. We don't care. We're just glad you're here, and we hope to see you next week. Thanks for coming.
Wow, what a trip. Thanks for taking that journey with us today. Please like us, share us, and enlighten us with your views of the topics we drove into today. We appreciate you and love reading your comments. Thanks again, and we hope to see you back on the bus next week. That's right.